Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Capitalist Investor. As always, you have me, Diamond Hands D, and only Luke, Cool Hand Luke this week. How's it going?
I love how you say only. That doesn't make me sound.
Well, we're a man down, but obviously your presence here is unbelievable.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Besides the tornado that's about to come outside, it looks like.
Yeah, it does not look good out there.
But today we got good old important, I would call it a little bit boring topic, but we we need to talk about it because it's something that factors into everyone's situation, our spending habits, our overall financial plan. That's the big I word, inflation.
Yep.
How is inflation going to impact your retirement plan? How's it going to impact your spending habits down the road? All of this needs factored into your financial plan. So let's start off with the question is, what do you see as the biggest mistake, Derek, in someone's financial plan or situation not accounting for inflation?
Yep. So I would say, honestly, we kind of call it like the yellow pad financial plan. So, you basically, you sit down at the kitchen table or whatever with your spouse, and you figure, hey, we're spending, $72,000 a year, right? And you're 65, so you want to retire, so you're going to factor in 25 years of retirement. So you take that 72,000 and you multiply it by 25 years, and you're like, hey, this is the nest egg that we need to shoot for, right? But what that doesn't account for, it really two things: taxes and inflation.
Yep.
So we've talked a lot about taxes, obviously. It's it's going to be a huge issue. Actually, maybe something I saw. Illinois passed a giant spending bill. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that one for a
Good old
future.
Chicago, just spending all of our money as usual.
Yeah, I think it was a hefty tax increase across the whole state. So we'll have to check that one out. But yeah, so we've talked a lot about taxes, but inflation is something that we obviously have to factor in, right? Yep. So, probably if we're talking financial plans, 10 years ago, right? There's no inflation really to speak of at that time.
No one knew what inflation was.
Yep.
Everyone just like, oh, this Diet Coke that I bought for $2 is still going to remain $2. Mm-hmm. Like, they didn't see change for 5 years. Or our Taco Bell dollar menu stayed Taco Bell dollar menu for a while. Now it's a $4 menu.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I pulled up that tweet we talked last week about the chili cheese burrito being $5.29.
Oh, did you? I wasn't here. Yeah.
It's it's wild. It's wild. So yeah, if really once we get closer to retirement and we're in the financial planning discussion, really understanding how much money you spend and then increasing that for inflation, that's really step one, job one of the financial plan, right? We have to have those two things right if the plan is going to be worth anything at all.
Yep, I agree, but the thing is also that you really need to pay attention to is how inflationary issues also impact your income. Mm-hmm. Is your income going to keep up with inflation? Like, there's a couple of reasons why it would or wouldn't, right? If the economy is booming and inflation's caused by a strong economy, a truly organically strong economy, that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world because there's just strong demand out there and your incomes probably are keeping up. The problem is the past 4 years, it's almost been this inorganic economy that we've built through the printing of trillions of dollars, funneling money through the top of the economy, not trickling down throughout the economy. So now you have essentially these inflationary issues where business owners are trying to crunch numbers, not trying to pay employees as much, but you're still going to the grocery store and still having these higher prices. So it's like this inorganic growth that we've had from the debt cycle that we're in has made it tough for middle-class Americans rather than a truly organically high inflation environment just driven by a strong innovation cycle of America.
Yep, absolutely. So something obviously that we're going to be keeping an eye on this year. The end of this year may have a very large impact on what inflation and taxes are like going forward. And those are, frankly, huge issues for retirees, right? And we haven't really talked about that really, pre-COVID. That was never really a discussion, whatsoever, right? And now
I feel like before COVID, like our life was a little bit easier here on the planning side, the advisory side. Like it seemed like for 14 years straight, and I mean I didn't get in at early 2008, 2009. I was in like the late 2010s is when I got into this industry. But like when I saw, how different things have become the past 4 or 5 years, it's very interesting from my point of view, because when I came in, we didn't have inflationary issues. Really, there wasn't anything too crazy going on with taxes. Investments, like we didn't print trillions of dollars. It didn't seem like we had spending deficits, but it wasn't absolutely insane. Mm-hmm. So like it's just the game's changed a lot the past 4 or 5 years. I can't imagine someone doing this for 30, 40, 50 years and seeing all the different cycles and how the game's changed. But at the end of the day, what we've seen is how much bigger the government's gotten. That's one of the biggest factors since the 1970s. Since 1971, we got off the gold standard. We allowed the printing of trillions of dollars, allowed it to happen essentially, allowed us to inflate the economy. So this is why you want to make sure that the people you are talking to, the people that you have some credentials behind them, because they have to keep up. They're forced to keep up with the current environment. CPAs, CFAs, JDs, the people we have on our staff. They have to do continuing education, make sure they're keeping up with the world. They don't have to just go golf on the golf course and golf 4 or 5 days a week and don't have to pay attention to the current environment, right?
Yep, for sure. Yeah, and it's it really, I know we do talk about this, and maybe we can wrap up on this point, but having a financial plan that's updated, annually at least, is so important, because we've been telling that to people for basically my whole career, but we've been seeing drastic change. Well, maybe not drastic changes, but people's plans have been altered based on the new inputs that we're putting in there. So we haven't jacked inflation up to 4.5% or anything like that, because it's meant to be for the length of the financial plan. But we have increased that, right? Return rates. If we're at all-time highs right now, and some of that is being artificially pumped in there for printing money, or passing out jobs, whatever the case may be. We need to factor those things in for inflation and spending. So having that plan updated constantly is going to be important. And I tell that to people, when people come in and say, hey, well, maybe I don't need to start planning right now. Well, you can plan right now, and I can guarantee you in 12 months you're going to need an update to that plan, because things are going to change in the world, things are going to change in your situation. So it's a great guidepost to have when you're planning your retirement.
Again, I'll end with this. Our job, I say this all the time, our job is not to preach to everybody to save the most amount of money and make the most amount of money as possible, have the perfect financial plan that you need to just always be conscious of everything. That's not necessarily our goal. Our goal is to make sure our clients are happy and meet the goals and objectives they want to achieve and are not stressed out in retirement, because stress is the number one killer.
Absolutely. All right, well, good stuff this week on the planning corner there. If you guys have any questions, comments, show ideas, hit us up at info@swpconnect.com, and we'll talk to you next week.
The opinions expressed in the podcast are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any investment, legal, financial, or tax strategy. It is only intended to provide education about the financial industry. Please consult a qualified professional about your individual needs.